or lease in the morning.
Another day, another sexual assault allegation. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Breaking Badger News. I am your host, as always, the John Deskin Simpsons kin, Maximilian Darrett. And joining me for this particular edition of this series is a woman that is more prim than Reaper. She is Miss Prim Reaper. Prim, what's going on?
Oh, not much. Happy to be on the show, as always.
Yes, we just got back from doing... well, you were on the stream longer than I was, but you were doing a stream with Mr. Sargon of Akkad. That was pretty dope.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting.
See, the great thing about being a part of HoneyBadgerRadio is that I get to stream with a lot of these really cool people. And thanks to them, thanks to Brian and Allison and Karen, I have been able to stream with pretty much everybody except for Mr. Medicare, the artist formerly known as Internet Aristocrat. So, dude, if you ever want to be on my show or on HBR or on my channel, just let me know. But anyways, that's besides the point. Let's talk about another creep in Hollywood, shall we, Prim? So,
Sure.
Famous comedian and actor Louis C.K. has admitted to sexual wrongdoing. He has admitted to masturbating in front of 5 women less than 24 hours after the initial accusations were made public in the New York Times. God, just doing these stories over and over again, it just makes me feel gross. Anyways, here's a quote from CK on the issue. "These stories are true. At the time, I said to myself that what I did was okay because I never showed a woman my dick without asking first." My God, which is also true. But what I learned later in life, too late, is that when you have power over another person, asking them to look at your dick isn't a question. It's a predicament for them. The power I had over these women is that they admired me, and I wielded that power irresponsibly. There's nothing about this that I forgive myself for, and I had to reconcile it with who I am, which is nothing compared to the task I've left them with. I've spent my long and lucky career talking and saying anything I want. I will now step back and take a long time to listen. Surrounding this controversy, the distributor of Louis C.K.'s upcoming film canceled the movie's release, and Netflix abandoned plans for an upcoming stand-up special. Now, like I said, Louis C.K. is now a part of a long list of alleged sex offenders, including Matthew Weiner, Roy Moore, Andre Balazs, Dan Schwen, Steven Seagal, Jeffrey Tambor, Ed Westwick, Dustin Hoffman, Brett Ratner, Jeremy Piven, Michael Oreskes, Andy Dick, Kevin Spacey, Hamilton Fish, Stephen Collins, Ken Baker, Rick Najera, Mark Halperin, ex-president George H.W. Bush, Knight Landisman, Leon Wieseltier, he sounds like a weasel, Ethan Kath, R. Kelly, James Toback, John Besh, Lockhart Steele, Robert Scoble, Chris Savino, David Blaine, Roy Price, Oliver Stone, and Ben Affleck. And let's not forget the walking tumor that started this whole controversy, Mr. Harvey Weinstein. Now, Prim, as I do some breathing exercises, please just give me your thoughts on the whole situation.
Okay, well, I mean, honestly, yes. I think that it's good that people are, coming out and talking about this sort of thing. I've always said, if somebody is doing this kind of thing, they should be called out on it. I want to stress here that I think that what Louis C.K. has done in several of these examples is tasteless, to say the least. Like the one woman who pointed out to him, he has a wife and children, and there's no question that that is obviously unfaithful behavior. But at the same time, like, oh gosh, it's tough to properly express this, but I also feel like, to a certain extent, I feel like what he's done is kind of, I don't know how to phrase it. Basically, it's being made out to be a lot worse than it is, especially considering a lot of what else has been going on lately.
That's true. Yeah, because with, obviously, when there's a firestorm that starts, and there's so many different stories that come out all at once, and we don't really know how to handle it, obviously people are going to be treating a lot of what has happened amongst all these different people as equal to the worst possible thing that somebody might have done.
Yeah. Like, for example, in that news story that you showed me earlier. So, first of all, I don't really understand the naivety of women who are invited to a man's private hotel room with the assumption that the encounter will be G-rated. there's always the joke about women being the ones constantly giving men hints about what they want rather than being direct. But I don't see, do you want to come back to my hotel room for a drink, as being a hint. It's just obvious where that could lead. And if you don't want it to lead there, you should maybe just say, nah, man, I'd rather just find a Denny's somewhere. They're open 24 hours and they serve alcohol, and it's generally frowned upon if you try to do anything sexual in them. But the part that really gets me...
In the Denny's?
Yeah, exactly. But the part that
Not in my experience, but go on.
Oh, okay. Well, you must be around some exciting Denny's then.
Yeah, that's what happens in Canada. Please go on.
But the part that gets me about this is the way they reacted to the whole thing. When he asked them in his hotel if he could take out his Johnson, he didn't just undo his fly and whip it out. They say right there that he proceeded to take all of his clothes off, get completely naked, and only then start masturbating. Why did they sit there for the entire thing if they didn't want to see any of this? What the hell did they expect? That he was going to throw on a house coat and bust out a cigar? If I didn't have any interest in seeing this guy jack off, I would have probably gotten to the point where he started pulling off his shirt and then said, this was a bad idea. I'm just gonna walk out of here now. Long before he got far enough to give me the willies, if you catch my double entendre.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's not like he was holding them down.
Jesus, you're turning into Hannah, Prim. It's not like he's holding them down.
I'll take that as a compliment.
I can't believe we're joking about this. We're going to get a lot of shit in the comments for this. Look, ladies and gentlemen, this is obviously what's going on in Hollywood right now. Obviously, it's a terrible situation. I suppose the reason why people like Prim and I are approaching this situation with humor is just because the whole thing, it's ridiculous. It's something that we knew was happening. Like a lot of people in the know, we knew what was happening in Hollywood prior to even the Harvey Weinstein thing happening. So with all this stuff coming out, it's almost like karma. And, it's like we're just seeing a lot of terrible people getting their comeuppance. And obviously a natural reaction to that is to joke about it and laugh at people that deserve their misfortune. For those people. And obviously when it comes to the victims, the people that are actually victims, people making valid accusations, our thoughts and prayers go out to them. And I'm personally so proud of them that they're able to speak truth to power and actually make a difference for women in the workplace, especially in Hollywood. Yeah,
definitely. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that it's great that they're coming out, but I also think that, we shouldn't ignore people's agency. Like, if somebody is doing something that you don't like, then don't just stick around and wait and see what happens. Get out of there, go and say something right away. Don't just let it kind of sit and mull and wait for other people to come out and say something about it for you to come out and say something. Say something right away, and then maybe we can prevent these cases of multiple people being victimized in Hollywood.
Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you don't have to take this. This is not acceptable behavior from anybody, and you have to do it quickly. Unfortunately, I know it's terrible to put the onus on the victim, but in order to make sure that justice is allocated properly, you have to take care of these issues quickly.
Yes.
And also, just going off of what you just said there, Prim, that's probably the most disheartening thing to come out of this whole Hollywood scandal, people in the media. It's the fact that despite the fact that we are seeing some justice allocated, I fear for how the justice system is going to look in respect to issues involving sexual harassment and assaults going forward. Because, like you said, in these situations, even though it shouldn't be this way, you have to ask what is going on in the minds of the supposed victims as well as the supposed perpetrators.
Yeah.
And I think that this only makes the conversation a lot more slippery and fragile.
Like, for example, there was one woman who, when he asked, hey, do you mind if I whip it out and show it to you while I'm doing this?
When has that ever worked, by the way?
Honestly, I don't know. But the one woman, she distinctly said no. And then he's like, I'm sorry, I have issues. And it's like, yes, clearly. But, she said no. He was asking. So Maybe he was confused when the other two women were in his hotel room and they didn't immediately walk out when he asked, and he just took that as consent, I guess. But, like, they should have walked out. They should have walked out. They should have gone and told somebody. That would have been a better way of handling the situation than just sitting there and watching as this unfolded, I guess.
And it's like, I can understand their psychology somewhat, because you think, oh, Louis C.K., he's talking about power in his statement. He is sort of right, because I think some of these women might think, well, even if I did speak up about this, nobody would believe me, because he's Louis C.K. and he has the power to be able to suppress these types of stories. Well, they don't. Look what's happened over this past month, even.
Yeah, exactly.
Since like the second week of October, look what's happened. All those names that I just listed. Look how much things are starting to fall apart. And I have a theory that this is only the beginning. I believe that this is something that Hollywood is probably never going to be able to recover from. There's going to be a lot more names coming out of this, which is so disheartening. But, we just got to try and see the good in this, because there are people that are going to be rightfully punished.
Yes. And, maybe they can learn from this. Maybe they can make like a code of ethics that they should be able to follow in Hollywood. Like they have that sort of thing for lots of different fields. Maybe it's time for Hollywood to kind of get on that bandwagon.
Yeah, look, guys, I understand how the entertainment business works. You want to put stuff in front of the camera. You got to use talent and somewhat of an exploitive. Just follow me here. It's not as bad as it's going to sound, as you think it sounds. You have to exploit people's desires when it comes to the entertainment industry. But there are boundaries, and that doesn't necessarily mean exploiting your workforce. There are tons of ways to do that, to make sure that consent is involved. Tons of legalese. And I'm not talking about personal relationships. I'm talking about being in a work environment. Like, I understand people are like, oh, well, there shouldn't be like paperwork when you're trying to engage in an intimate relationship with somebody or trying to have sex with them. Yeah, I get that. I'm talking about the workforce. This is something that Hollywood can absolutely do. And I have a feeling that that's what they're going to do, considering how progressive they seem to be. But, and that's another good thing about this, their projective bullshit by just saying, men are terrible, toxic masculinity, they're all right, and all of them are so terrible because they live in their mom's basements and they can never get a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for tuning in for another edition of Breaking Badger News. If you like this particular video, make sure to hit that like button. If you want to see more content like this, please hit that subscribe button. If you want to continue this conversation, obviously there's a comment section below. If you agree or disagree with any of the things that we had to say, please put your comments down below. Please try to be polite. I want to thank Prem for joining me on such short notice. As always, she's a lovely guest to have. And until next time, have a lovely, lovely day.